All right. Hello. Welcome to the Rabbit Hole Report. This is a pretty casual podcast by me. My name's Chris, and we have Sammy on the line too.
Hi.
Yep. Just for context, disclaimer actually, we are not experts in the field of any of these topics going forward from this episode on. And if you have factual information that contradicts what we're going to say, leave it in the comments or, keep it to yourself and feel really good about that.
Do not sue us.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is episode 1, so we're going to talk about something pretty popular: the Great Silence. Where are all of the aliens? If the universe is so vast, so big, endless in some opinions, then why haven't we found undeniable proof of extraterrestrial life? So this is coinciding with like the Fermi Paradox and all of those possibilities. You want to kick us off, Sammy?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. Let me go ahead and just text Elon Musk and see if he'll give us an update. All right, yeah, he's not responding. So, yeah, Fermi Paradox. I don't know too much about it, but I heard it's kind of it's a problem where if there was, correct me if I'm wrong, if there was alien life, should we have seen it now? And if there isn't, I think there's something called the Great Filter. You know what I'm talking about? Have you heard that?
Yeah, the Great Filter Theory. That's a really good one that we'll probably
Yeah,
bring up.
something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, the Fermi Paradox is that exact thing. It's if the universe is so big and the possibilities are endless, then why haven't we come across alien life in some capacity? And I think a lot of people tend to lean towards intelligent life, and that may be the case with the Fermi paradox. But we're
Mm-hmm.
we're also looking for unintelligent life, single cell, multi cell organisms, which basically would just give us the insight, to understand that life is possible, and if simple life exists, then
Good point.
definitively complex life probably exists too, right? So
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of people just think that alien life would have to be 4 foot tall gray people or little green men, but it could just be a fucking amoeba.
an amoeba, yeah, a Mars amoeba. And I think
Could you imagine how like anticlimactic that would be?
we finally, after 10,000 years of human exploration, finally found the first amoeba
Yeah. Like
outside
where
of
is it?
Earth's atmosphere,
Right. It's like look under the microscope. I swear it's there.
and it's dead.
Yeah. We can't.
Not suitable for life on Earth. No. The concept itself is super. It's super great, and it's intriguing because it opens up a lot of issues. And if I had to guess as to why the Fermi paradox exists, just a wild hail mary here, I'm going to say
Mm-hmm.
just the age of the universe. Now there's a couple things that go along with that, but as far as we understand, and here's where someone's going to correct me in the comments. I believe the universe rather is roughly what is it like between 8 to 12 billion years in age total.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, so not very old in so far as we can comprehend anyway.
In the grand scale.
Yeah, the grand scale of everything in this case,
Yeah.
and so because the universe is so extraordinarily large, because everything is so far away that even things traveling at the speed of light, which in this case would be how we perceive, things sentient or sorry entities outside of our own solar system,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we only really get a glimpse from other stars and systems that are younger than we are. And
Yeah.
so,
That sounds like the most plausible. Oh, sorry. You were saying.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say that actually sounds. I remember we talked about this before, but that sounds like the most plausible explanation to me is if we know the universe is expanding and it's expanding in so quick of a, it's expanding so quickly that there might not be a way for us to ever bridge that gap in the first place. It's kind of like I saw this thing that talked about it where it's almost like there's uncontacted tribes in the ocean and they're all in these islands. And we assume that if someone developed enough technology, they'd eventually create a ship, they'd sail over to us. But in consideration of the universe, it's like, well, maybe there's not a ship that can be created to bridge that gap. Hundreds or millions of light years and all that.
Yeah. No, I
Crazy
mean
distance.
that's
Yeah.
I think that's a good scale to look at. Imagine you're a grain of sand in Hawaii. 1/1 millionth the size of a grain of sand, and you've got to
Yeah.
swim from Hawaii all the way to I don't know Maine, right? A huge, huge feat. I mean, by the time you got anywhere near leaving the coast of Hawaii, you'd be dead. Um, so that yeah, I mean yeah, that takes into another account. I think that's the filter theory you were talking about earlier, wasn't it? It's that
I think so. I'm pretty sure that
yeah,
was it. Yeah.
life does exist in other places, but it's so incomprehensibly impossible to go from one star to the next that it wouldn't matter if they did exist or if they didn't exist. They cannot feasibly progress far along enough in their own
Wow.
evolution to get to us or to
Yeah.
contact us.
What that makes me think about? It makes me think like, what's more depressing, the idea that there is no life out there, or the idea that there is life, but we'll never be able to see it or understand it or learn about it anyway because we just can't do it.
Yeah, yeah, the latter is definitely it's sadder. I think it's always worse to know that something is there and is still unattainable versus the mystery
We're just
of if it
completely
or
alone.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's more reassuring for people to think that we're alone. Especially evangelicals and theists and everything because
Yeah.
it gives priority to our own existence.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we're important because we're alone. But if we're not alone, then maybe we're not so important.
Puts a lot
But
of things in question too. A lot of religious doctrine.
oh
Like,
yeah,
hey,
like all of
my
them.
book didn't talk about this.
I believe that if we did find intelligent alien life, like what's our closest celestial neighbor star wise? Alpha Centauri, right? I
Mhm.
believe that if there was a planet in the habitable zone of Alpha Centauri and somehow we made contact with them, we would get a new version of the King James Bible that said that God actually just there was a lot of happening on that first day, and
Right?
you could
It's like, we
interpret
found it.
you could interpret all of the texts to say that oh well he did create light, but
Yeah.
everywhere it didn't just mean Earth, he meant the universe.
Right.
Guaranteed, all of a
It's like,
sudden.
oh, the 13th disciple.
Yeah.
Here's the book.
There were actually three Jesuses. One of them was a gray alien from Mars. If you look
Book of
past, yeah.
Elon.
Oh no. Yeah. Um, is so far as like the Fermi paradox though. Why haven't we seen it? So if the
Mhm.
universe is if the light from other planets that we're seeing are only representations of them in their earliest years, then how could we ever discover through conventional methods any other life in the universe?
Yeah, that's a mind blower right there. That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, do we just not have the technology? Because it's not just being able to receive the information, because the information's out there, right? It's all light, and we capture
Mhm.
light and we perceive it the way we perceive it. But it's the fact that light itself has a physical limit to how fast it can travel, right? So nothing
Mhm.
with mass, anyway, can travel faster than the speed of light. So I,
Exactly.
I mean, we're torched by physics, which is
Exactly.
also pretty
Yeah.
depressing.
Yeah. Seems like there's a lot of barriers in place to ever discovering
Mm-hmm.
alien life or alien life discovering us. Another thing, though, with the James Webb Telescope, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the James Webb Telescope that just got launched, I think last year or 2 years ago, has
Yeah,
opened up a lot of possibilities. And one of the things they've been able to do now is it can see so far across the observable universe that they can actually detect certain signatures in a planet's what is it, atmosphere.
probably.
let's just say
Yeah,
let's just say atmosphere. But yeah, but basically they developed what's known as the Goldilocks zone, which I'm sure you know about, right? Basically like the area where a planet could potentially have life.
yeah.
And what the James Webb Telescope has been able to help researchers do now is they can kind of take an even closer look at these not exoplanets, but what's that word? Super planets. They're basically like Earth-like planets. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
think they are called exoplanets.
Maybe it's exoplanets, but anyways, they can take a closer look at these and really start to look for certain signatures. There's like I think they said they could tell if there's light being emitted, which would be obviously an example of like, well, hey, it looks like they might have developed some type of technology if we can see light
Oh
coming
man.
through. their atmospheres, and there's also certain type of gases that get emitted from um, different types of things. But yeah, basically the James Webb Telescope has opened another avenue of potentially finding life.
How
We might not
crazy
ever be able to
is
go see
that?
it, but yeah. Huh?
Exactly. But conceptually, let's say James Webb did use its enhanced, beautiful features to discover planets and habitable zones around their respective
Yeah.
stars, and then go a step further and perceive civilization so far as, hey, there are lights all over the planet that are unnatural, right? They're artificial.
Yeah.
Conceptually, being able to have the James Webb Telescope pick up that information and then relay that to us, telling us that it is in fact true, is so mind blowing. Because
Yes.
depending on where that planet is, let's say it's uh, uh, in Alpha Centauri, right, which is, I think, 3 to 4 light years away.
Mm-hmm.
That means that we could potentially visit that planet within a series of lifetimes. You've heard about these or seen them in
Few
sci-fi, at
generations.
least, generational ships. Yeah,
Yeah.
where you live and die on the ship essentially, unless you get some crazy cryo
Wow.
freeze, technology. But you basically, yeah, live and die on the ship, and then your grandchildren or their grandchildren eventually get to the destination. And but even crazier than that is, let's say it's 1,000 light years, 10,000 light years away. That means that civilization has been alive for at least 10,000 years since that image hit our brains, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever age they were when they had those artificial lights, plus that by 10,000 years,
A great
and
point.
theoretically, and here's something that's going to blow your mind. If a civilization was far enough away, 100,000, 10 million light years, whatever, by the time that information reached our brains, there is theoretically, they could have advanced so quickly within that 10 million years that it took for the light to travel from their planet to ours, that they could have beat their own image in a race to get to Earth. They could have developed technology within that 10 million
Whoa.
years that allowed them to travel faster than light and reach this planet before we ever understood that planet held life.
That almost sounds like time travel.
That's exactly what it is. Who's the famous Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? He
Mm-hmm.
has explained on a few podcasts and TV shows. He has his own podcast, actually, I think, with another unscientific gentleman that discusses time travel today. And is it possible? Yes, but it's one way, right? Like black holes. You've seen the movie Interstellar, right? It's an
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic movie. Within that movie, the first planet they travel to, this gigantic water planet by what's called the gargantuan black hole, it aged everyone on Earth. I think it was something insane. Like for every hour they were there, it was like 10 years back home or something.
Yeah. Yep.
The closer you get to large centers of gravity, the slower time ticks for you, and everyone else ticks at the same pace. So if you were to throw yourself into a black hole, get as close as possible without being sucked in, and come back to Earth, theoretically, you could time travel as far into the future as you wanted, depending on how long you stayed near that black hole. And it's completely physically possible.
That's crazy. One-way time travel.
One-way time travel. And that concept is nuts because for a lot of different reasons, right? Because it means that space and time are it proves Albert Einstein's theory about relativity, but
Mm-hmm.
faster than light travel requires kind of like a stretching of physics like that. Mass can't travel faster than the speed of light. We know that. So
Yeah.
that means that if we were ever to go to another star within one
We'd have to
lifetime,
transport.
we would have to find a way to not go really, really, really fast, if that makes sense. So we would have to find a different way of traveling faster than light, which isn't just speeding up your momentum. Have you ever heard of an Einstein-Rosen bridge?
Yes, yes. It's where you almost bend. It's like taking a piece of paper and bending the paper in half so you can get to the other side without traversing the entire length
Of the paper, yeah.
of the space. Yeah, or the paper for
Yeah.
that instance.
Yeah, that's it's a
Crazy.
wormhole is essentially what it is. And
Yep.
that theory alone I think on paper it checks out, but you need something like like more energy than the universe currently outputs in order to make it work or something. So as far as the Fermi paradox goes, which was the original topic here, um, maybe they do exist. Maybe there is life everywhere, but we're just too young to see the stars that have progressed to the point where they now understand faster than light travel better than
Mhm.
we do. They're not just going really fast. They're warping space time.
Yeah.
And then here's something cool I like to talk about aliens in general is if a species of alien was so advanced that they could do
Mhm.
something like that, why the hell would they ever stop here?
That's a great question. Or if they did, what would their intentions be? Just to observe, to manipulate us, to use our resources,
Yeah.
to destroy us? Like, what would they choose to do?
Well, I mean, yeah, if we broke down those questions, observe us, sure, but I mean, God, couldn't they do that from like 10 light years away? Couldn't they do it
Potentially, depending
from?
on their technology.
Yeah, can they, I mean, if they can send themselves through space time,
Yeah, right.
couldn't they just send light through a wormhole and just
Yeah,
observe
or
us
you'd
in real
assume they have
time?
some kind of camera.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as resources, I mean, the only resource they could possibly want from us is water, you know. But there's got
Yeah.
to be fucking like ice planets everywhere that is less of a hassle
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That's a great point.
to like
Yeah.
eradicate an entire species, like War of the Worlds, Tom Cruise style. I don't
You,
believe
you know
that.
what's Yeah, you know what's another thought too is what if our civilization is actually extremely basic compared to other, hypothetical alien civilizations that are out there? What if we're so basic and so primitive that we're not even worth checking out?
Yeah, like if we came upon a planet full of like single-brained lizards, like
Yeah. Yeah.
walnut-sized brain lizards, would we
Or that
stop
have
and be like,
brains.
"We come to you in peace"? Yeah, I don't.
Right.
They just lick their eyeballs and shit, and that's really all they can do.
Yep. No sign of intelligent life here. Get back on the spaceship.
It's like, oh, look at this. They're still, they still have like multi-party politics. Look at them, like
Right,
fucking
yeah.
fucking idiots. It's like they haven't harnessed the power of their sun yet. What an idiot.
Dummies. Oh, look, they just developed AI. How cute.
Have you ever heard of
Yes.
type civilizations?
Yes, I have. I think that's super fascinating. I think there's what, three? Type
Wow.
one, type two, and type three?
Yeah, I think so. There might be a type 4, but I'm not that smart. You know where we fall on that spectrum of types?
I believe technically based on the fact that I don't know if it was the moon or if it was because we've actually sent crafts to Mars, but I think technically we fall under type two, which is we've begun to branch out from the planet obviously we occupy. We started to branch out to the nearer celestial bodies or whatever you would call them,
Yeah. Well, this
planets, moons.
this is going to blow your mind then because we're not actually a type 2. We're not even a type 1. We are what's considered a half type. We're a point 0.5 on the type
What?
scale.
Really?
So the types are categorized by how a species as a whole harnesses energy. And so a type 1 civilization is
Mm-hmm.
able to fully harness all of the energy on their own planet. So that's
That's what I
that's
was thinking.
yeah,
Yep.
so that's everything we could possibly. That's like the heat from the core of the earth, solar, wind, waves,
Okay.
any type of energy produced either on Earth or hits the Earth, like the rays of the sun,
Yeah.
and yeah, and so a Type 2 civilization is able to fully harness all of the power from their
Of
local
the
star,
Yes.
and so that comes there's a word for that. It's a Dyson sphere,
Yes.
and
Dyson
yeah,
sphere.
basically absorbs all the energy in some fucking scientific way I couldn't tell you about, and then relays that back to wherever we would want it, I suppose.
Can you try to explain it?
Sure. I mean, I guess I could just do it in the concept of like solar panels.
It's like
So
sun real hot.
yeah, exactly. Well, I don't think it's heat actually, and I don't think solar panels work by heat either. I'm pretty sure it's something happens when a photon crashes into the board. It causes an excitement of the electrons, and it generates a small amount of electricity. And so, the
Okay.
more
No.
photons that crash into it, the more electricity you get. again, this is gonna be a moment where someone in the comments pulls up a chair and lifts their three chins onto the desk and
Well, actually,
actually, yeah,
pardon me.
and corrects me. It's the photons hitting the cathoids in my ass that generate the fuck you power. But anyway,
It's like unsubscribe.
well, at least they subscribed in the first place. But
Right. We appreciate you.
yeah, and so I would assume maybe that's how it's done. Just maybe some hyper. There's always energy loss with our technology. Like it's never 100%. With solar panels, never 100%. Receiving all the energy it could. But you'd assume by the time we got to type 2, it's 100%. And then type 3 is like incomprehensible. It's a species that's able to harness all of the energy in their galaxy. The galaxies. Yes. So it's the hundreds of millions of stars in the Milky Way. We're somehow able to harness all of that. And this is the point of where sci-fi gets a little incomprehensible to me because I can imagine like a multi-planetary or system species, right? We're like, I'm going to Alpha Centauri for breakfast, and you zorp there through your zorp portal or whatever.
Right, zorp.
but if you're talking, harnessing the power from the galaxy, I gotta ask, like, what is there? What's next? I think the fun of science is the wonder and the awesomeness of the unknowable. But at that point, it's like, God, we know everything. And you just wait for entropy to take its course and cause the fucking heat death of the universe.
Oh man, yeah. That's the big the end of the story. And the sun blew up. Great. All right.
Yeah, and all life in the universe is over because there's no more energy. Everything's stalemates. Mm-hmm. But I guess I never understood that concept, the heat death.
What's that?
The heat death of the universe. It's where all of the heat slowly dissipates from every star, organism, planet, and then there's just cold and everything's dead. I never understood that because I understood it's one of the laws, one of Newton's laws. I think it's the first law, actually. It's energy cannot be destroyed or created. It can only be altered. Yeah. And so if you have all of the energy in the universe, which is, again, like an incomprehensible number that I probably doesn't even have a name, just transfers from really, really hot, which is where you get stars and light and everything, to really, really cold, which is cold blackness, absolute zero or colder. I don't know. I mean, how does that even occur? I mean, is it physically possible for that to happen? I assume it is. I've seen a fire go out once the fuel is done, but with all of that just dormant or decayed or dead energy, I mean, what why? Why the fuck does that happen?
What you're saying, yeah. Like, does it just remain that way indefinitely? Because how would you recreate the heat or that's...
Well, what's there's got to be something that happens at that stage because it just doesn't make sense. And I know I'm just a nobody dipping my toes into an extraordinarily complex topic, but if all matter and all energy was to just dissipate until it was neutral, and all electrons just flew off of the protons and neutron cluster in the middle, right? Whatever the name for that is. Yeah. The nuclei, right?
Nuclei, yeah.
Where do those electrons go? Do they just float around in the void? I mean, at one point, there's got to be an instance where electrons start bumping into each other, right? Even though the universe is very big. Created. Okay, so this actually leads to a conversation that's is it called the rubber band theory, or there's something else? It might just be the Big Bang theory, right? It's like if everything dies down and cools off over time, you get these reactions of electrons bumping into each other, and maybe something sparks back up and another Big Bang happens. I don't know. And that could be like the cyclical life of the universe itself, like a big breathing balloon.
Yeah, what if that is it? Yeah.
Who knows, man? That's horrifying. That's a really scary thing to talk about.
It is, yes.
All right. Well, I think we've pretty thoroughly covered the Fermi Paradox, but let's get into maybe next episode. Let's talk about that that topic we just brought up, and let's talk about like maybe the heat death of the universe, or let's talk about the Big Bang theory and other theories that are kind of sparring with one another at within physical academia, and
I
figure out all the secrets ourselves.
I think I would like that very much.
All right. Well, this has been the Rabbit Hole Report. So stay tuned for episode 2, and please don't sue us.
Toodaloo, guys.
All right. See you.